All right, let's dive into a story that honestly feels like finding a perfect mixtape from a forgotten summer. Today we're unpacking Rubén Suárez's novel, Cruising Under the Stars. Now this book, it promises a love story, but what it delivers is something way more complicated and a whole lot more real.
Right from the get-go, the book gives us this fascinating heads up. It literally says, this story begins as fiction and gradually dissolves into reality. So right away, we're being told that we're not just reading some made-up novel. No, we're about to witness a confession, a slow, deliberate blurring of the lines between a story someone created and, well, raw, painful memory.
And you feel that personal weight on the very first page. The dedication. Wow, it's a punch to the gut. To every person who dimmed their own light just to make someone else feel taller. I mean, that just immediately sets this deeply intimate and emotional tone for the entire journey we're about to go on.
So you might be asking, how is this story actually told? Well, this is where it gets really, really unique. The whole novel is structured like a jukebox. Every single chapter is inspired by a classic 80s song. We're talking 122 different tracks that aren't just a soundtrack, they actually shape the emotional landscape of the entire narrative.
This framework, which Suárez calls a jukebox novel, means music isn't just background noise. Oh no, it is absolutely essential. The rhythm of a rock-set track, the heartache in a song by the Bangles, it's all woven into the very DNA of the storytelling. It guides you, the reader, to all these moments of desire and loss and discovery.
So at the heart of all this is our main character, Reuben Sandoval. He's a massively celebrated author who goes by the pen name Aries. And here's the thing, he has completely mastered writing about love on the page. But in his own life, it's a totally different story. For him, love is still just theoretical, this idea he can't ever seem to get his hands on.
And this brings us to the central paradox of Reuben's life, right? He is surrounded by all this incredible success and luxury, but inside it all, he feels profoundly, deeply alone.
And the world he's built for himself, it's pure performance. You can see it all right here. The chartered jets, the custom Bentley, the ridiculously expensive Patek Philippe watch. You know, these aren't just things. They're props. They're part of this carefully constructed image. He's perfected the art of arrival.
In fact, his best friend and publisher, the incredibly flamboyant David MacArthur, just sums up their entire world with this one perfect line. It's not about the journey, it's about making an entrance. It's a performance of success.
And that success, I mean, it is just staggering. His latest novel sells 11 million copies in under a month. Reuben isn't just some successful author. He's a global literary phenomenon.
So, okay, after building this picture of this untouchable, successful guy, the novel hits us with its central driving question. What good is writing about love if you can't even experience it yourself? This is the conflict that's going to fuel Reuben's entire journey.
And believe me, that journey takes a sharp and pretty brutal turn. After years of being lonely, Reuben finally makes a hopeful connection, only to have it completely unravel into this moment of absolute public humiliation.
It all starts with a guy named Colin Winters, who he meets online. They've been messaging back and forth for a couple of weeks, and there's this steady, kind of curious warmth to their chats. For the first time in a long, long time, Reuben actually lets himself feel a little flicker of real hope.
Then, during a phone call, Colin just unloads on him. He tells Reuben his life is basically falling apart, says he's out of work, can't pay his rent, his phone is dying. His voice sounds so raw and tired, and it just strikes a chord deep inside Reuben.
So Reuben, believing he's finally found someone who's being totally honest with him, is just moved. He decides he's going to do something kind, something to lift the weight off Colin's shoulders. So before their first date, he goes to the mall to secretly buy him a brand new phone.
And this is where it all just completely falls apart. This slide lays out the whole disaster perfectly. So Reuben's in the store, phone in his hand, full of hope. And then he sees Colin, across the store, with another man. And in this moment of just sheer, gut-wrenching betrayal, he watches that other man buy Colin the exact same phone. The illusion just shatters, a huge public fight breaks out, and Reuben is left totally humiliated.
So, from that absolute low point, that rock-bottom moment, the story pivots. Having fled the scene of his humiliation, Reuben finds himself in a place where a totally new and unexpected connection just appears out of the darkness.
He just drives, with no destination in mind, and ends up at Jacksonville Beach. He's hoping it'll be quiet, a place to escape.
He's heartbroken. He's furious with himself for being so stupid, and he just wants to be alone under the stars.
And this sets up such a fascinating contrast. See, Reuben's publisher had been pushing him to go on this calculated hunt for love in all these exclusive clubs, but instead, it's a completely accidental, raw, anonymous encounter on a dark beach that ends up leading to something far more profound.
And then a figure emerges from the shadows, Kyle Speed. He's 21 years old, a lifeguard, and he admits he's been following Reuben on the beach. Their meeting is electric, super intense, but what's really surprising is what Kyle reveals about himself. He's a self-proclaimed literature addict.
And then he just drops this quote. Reuben, this world-famous novelist, is standing on a dark beach with a 21-year-old stranger who starts quoting Oscar Wilde. This is the moment everything shifts. Kyle isn't just some random guy. He has a depth that immediately, totally captivates Reuben.
And the dynamic here is just incredible. Kyle is a huge fan of classic queer literature. He's talking about Thomas Mann, James Baldwin. He even compares Reuben to Tadzio from Death in Venice. But here's the kicker. He seems to have absolutely no idea that he's talking to Eris, one of the biggest names in that very genre.
So their encounter quickly morphs from this pure physical impulse into something way deeper, a surprising intellectual and emotional kinship. It all builds up to this kiss on the beach, and Reuben has this realization that they are quite literally cruising under the stars. This isn't just a phrase anymore. It's the beginning of something he never, ever saw coming.
And that leaves us with the book's big, burning question. This powerful, instant connection was forged in the anonymity of night. But can a love that begins in the dark, between two people from completely different worlds, actually survive the light of day? Well, that's the story Cruising Under the Stars sets out to tell.